of the Black in Western art. All right, I'm on page 70, and we're going to discuss three images. I'm going to start at image number 46, which is this one here, 46. There's going to be 47, and on the next page is 48. So I'm going to start with their commentary on painting number 46, and I think I should start here. Okay. It reads, in fact, the images in a manuscript treating of the Antichrist, composed in Bavaria around 1440 to 1450, carried a powerful charge of dangerous ideas, totally unrealistic, but new. So what was the unrealistic but new idea that was so dangerous? First, we see two envoys of the Antichrist. Wow. By their preaching, one is leading the white king of Libya astray, the other, the king of Ethiopia, and his fighting men. So let's see the Antichrist leading men astray. Let's see. Now that was 46. Remember, here's 46. I'm gonna go up. Okay, leading the white king of Libya astray and his men. Let's go down. The Antichrist leading the king of Ethiopia and his men astray. So this was a dangerous idea, showing the white man leading black people and others astray with Roman Catholicism. That's what's going into Christianity, this new form of Christianity. So that was 46. Okay, let's go back. All right. This second image is sort of negative of the scenes in John of Opava's Evangelistary, painted less than a century earlier in Bohemia. The resemblance is striking. We should point out that the two scenes do not appear in the older versions of the play of the Antichrist that we have been able to consult. A little further on in the manuscript, monstrous white men and blacks carrying curved sabers and an emblazoned shield march toward the Antichrist, and kings from all over the world worship him. Now, where is this? Plate 48. All right, this is 47. Let's see. Oh, here it is, plate 48. Now, we just read monstrous white men. Here it says fabulous figures and black men marching toward the Antichrist. Adoration of the Antichrist, Bavaria, 1440 to 1450. Look, monstrous white men leading black men toward the Antichrist. Monstrous white men leading black men toward the Antichrist. I didn't make this up. Notice the white men are riding on a goat. And there's three of them. Let's go back. So that was 48. Toward the Antichrist. And kings from all over the world worship him. Clearly what we have here is a negative countertype of the adoration of the Magi. Among the three crowned kings, the black comes last. Okay, here's the next one. Among the three crowned kings, the black comes last, and his banner, held by a black soldier, bears the caricature of a black in profile. At the next photo, now, I want you to notice the wording. Notice, it says, among the three crowned kings, the black comes last, and his banner, held by a black soldier, bears the caricature of a black in profile. Now, let's take a look at this. Okay, this is still dealing with this picture here. Notice it says the black comes last, and the soldier's carrying the banner of a black in caricature. Now, I want you to see here, you have a white holding a white man. How come they didn't call this a caricature? I'm showing you how, who put this book together. But the main point is that this is the Antichrist. And the whole world's worshiping the white man as Christ. That's the point. But I want to show y'all something. Edited by David Byman, Henry Louis Gates Jr. David Byman is a racist. This is a racist white man if you look him up. Henry Louis Gates Jr. is black, but he's a subordinate. And he lets white supremacists make foolish and evil statements regarding black people. Okay? Now, this is when this book goes into the history of when the whites began to conquer us and take us down systematically. Rome, they took us down. Spain, Portugal sent some of us to the west coast of Africa as slaves, enslaved others of us in Portugal and Spain, and they started to mislead us into this new religion of Christianity. That's what these paintings are really saying. They were leading us to the Antichrist. All right. Here's a book, History of the Jews by Professor H. Grates. Okay. Going to page 339. We're going to read the underlined section. All right. I'll start here. Two brothers, Ibn Yahya, Negro. I want y'all to see his last name, Negro, meaning black. Also frequented the court of Lisbon. They were sons of a certain Don David, who had recommended them not to invest their rich inheritance in real estate, for he saw that banishment was in store for the Portuguese Jews. So now we'd already came from Spain. We left from Spain because they were forcing us to worship Antichrist, this white image of Christ. We went to Portugal, and they allowed us to stay there only for a limited time. Let's go down. When Alfonso conquered the port of Arzilla in Africa, this is Morocco, the victors brought with them, among many thousand captive Moors who were made captives, they brought them back, 250 Jews, they brought them back as well, who were sold as slaves throughout the kingdom. I want y'all to see that. When Alfonso conquered the port of Arzilla in Africa, the victors brought with them, among many thousand captive Moors, 250 Jews who were sold as slaves throughout the kingdom. That Jews and Jewesses, men and women, should be doomed to the misery of slavery was unendurable to Abrabanel's heart. Now, he took up money. He paid for their freedom and all that. But money eventually runs out. Okay, let's go to the next section. All right, we're on page 371. All right. Let's start it. He maintained that more Jews had come into Portugal. Remember, we fled from Spain because of that new Christianity, where the white man was set up as God in Christ, okay? And that Christ just died for all nations on the planet Earth. That garbage. He maintained that more Jews had come into Portugal, this is where we fled, than had been stipulated for, and insisted, therefore, that the agreement be strictly carried out. Those who remained after the expiration of 8 months, he only allowed us to stay in Portugal for 8 months, were made slaves. If the Jews stayed longer than that, the black Jews were made what? Slaves, and sold or given to those of the Portuguese nobility, meaning the white man, who cared to take their pick from them. What year was this? 1493. Why do I want to stress this right here? 1493. When did the slavery start that the white man said on TBN? The 1500s, 1501. That's like what? Almost 7-8 years difference. King Zhao went still further in his cruel dealings with the unhappy Spanish Jews. Remember, I just showed you in the book about the Spanish Jews. What color were they? Black. Don't forget, don't fall off the horse. Keep up with the conversation, please. The children from 3 to 10 years of age whose parents had become slaves. Why? Because those Jews rejected this new form of Christianity. He ordered to be transported by sea to the newly discovered San Thomas, or Lost Island. Where's San Thomas? On the west coast of Africa. Ilhas Perdidas, Island of Perdition. They're to be reared in the tenets of Christianity. They were still forcing this new form of Christianity on us. The weeping of the mothers, the sobbing of the children, the rage of the fathers who tore their hair in agony did not move the heartless despot to recall his command. Mothers entreated to be allowed to go with their children. Mothers entreated to be allowed to go with their children, threw themselves at the king's feet as he came out of church, some Sunday, and implored him to leave them at least the youngest. Dun Zhao had them dragged from his path like bitches who had their whelps torn from them. Wow, you can't make this up. The islands of San Thomas, that's in Africa, the west coast. Let's get down. Most of the children perished on the journey or became the prey of wild beasts. Among the survivors, it happened that brothers and sisters, in ignorance of their relationship, married each other. We were at a base state. Remember, we was children, little kids. Perhaps the king's barbarity to the Jews must be accounted for by the bitter gloom which mastered him at the death of his only legitimate son. You can't make this stuff up. All right, I'm on page 115, Babylon and Timbuktu, the expulsion of the Jews from Spain and Portugal. Now, I wanted to reference the European books first before I went to Rudolph R. Windsor, because some of you idiots don't consider Rudolph R. Windsor a scholar because he's black. So that's why I prefaced this book with Grates, the white man, all right? It was AD 1492, January 2nd, when the Moorish stronghold of Granada surrendered to the armies of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. These are the Queen Ferdinand and Queen Isabella conquered Spain, okay? For the first time since the year 711, all of Spain was in Christian hands. Remember, the Christian hands is talking about this new form of Christianity that we have today. The decree to expel the Jews from Spain was signed on March 31st in one of the corridors of the great Alhambra, the palace of the Moorish kings of Granada. The reason given for the expulsion of the Jews was that it was thought they corrupted the Marranos, Jews converted to Christianity. Now, let's pause there for a second. So remember, the Moors, amongst the Moors, you had Jews, black Jews. When they were either forced to convert to Christianity, some did it willingly, but in pretense. Okay, that's what it says, Jews converted to Christianity, but privately encouraging them in disloyalty to Christianity. So some Jews were only faking to be Christians, just so that they could stay in Spain. The ultimatum given to the Jews expired August 1st, 1492. But the last group of Jews did not leave until August 2nd, 1492. Let's start here. This date is of strange coincidence that the day was the 9th of Ab, that means August. That's the Jewish month for August. The fast day, which is reminiscent of the destruction of the first and second temples. All right, I'm gonna jump down. In order to satisfy Queen Isabella of Spain, King Manuel of Portugal promulgated a royal decree expelling the Jews and Moors from his country in 1496. Now, this is 4 years before the slavery over transatlantic slave trade. The Jews who were expelled from Spain and Portugal were scattered throughout the Mediterranean coast. It is estimated that over 100,000 Jews departed from Spain and Portugal during the persecutions, that's the Inquisition, and the expulsion, that's the Inquisition. Some of these Jews went to Northern Europe, Italy, and Turkey, but most of them went to Muslim countries of Northern and Western Africa. These black Jews would naturally go to African countries, most of all, because of less persecution, and they could disguise themselves easily among blacks. All right, I'm gonna start here. When the Jews were expelled from Spain, about 100,000 entered Portugal. They were permitted to enter under the condition that they pay the poll tax. And we read that in another book, with the understanding that they would leave the country within 8 months. Also, at this time, the king obligated himself to take the Jews wherever they desired at the termination of the 8 months. So after 8 months, the king would take you wherever you wanted to go. When the time expired, many Jews were stranded because the king did not provide enough ships in time. All the black Jews who were left behind were deprived of their freedom and sold into slavery. During the reign of King John II, 700 black Hebrew children were ruthlessly taken away from their parents in Portugal and transported to the island of San Tome, that's St. Thomas, off the west coast of Africa. This island is located near Nigeria, Cameroon, and Gabon. Wow. All right. So I hope y'all keeping up with the conversation. So remember, Matt Crouch did say to T.D. Jakes, he said, I know slavery was the 1500s, 16. He said, I know a lot about it. Tell us about it. And what white people like to do is test your level of intelligence, okay? So what was going on during this time of Inquisition? Many of us were being banished from Spain to Portugal, from Portugal to the west coast of Africa. Our children were separated from us. This time, and remember I showed you the date of 1493, 7 to 8 years later began the transportation of our people from the west coast of Africa to the shores of the United States. It wasn't the United States, it wasn't called that at this time. But remember, you had Columbus, who had made his expedition on the other side of the world, followed by Amerigo Vespucci, Hernan Cortez, and others. Okay, this is all happening at the same time. The Inquisition, our banishment and enslavement, the separating of our children, was all happening the same time as Columbus was making his expedition to this side of the world, wherein you had the Spanish conquistadors conquering the other tribes of Israel in South America, Central America, the Indians throughout the Caribbean islands, so forth and so on. I hope y'all seeing a clear picture. Now, let's look at some of the first slaves that came to this side of the world. Before the Mayflower, A History of Black America by Lerone Bennett Jr. Let's go inside the book. All right. I'm on page 36. And what do I want? I'm going to start here. Many, perhaps most, of the first generation of African Americans entered America with Spanish names for reasons that are not readily apparent. Wow. Many black males were called Antonio, a name that quickly became Antony or Anthony. Other popular names of the period included Michaela, Cuchicelo, Mingo, Pedro, Francisco, Jabina, Maria, Wotelo, Tomaro, Angola, and Tony Congo. Shortly after their arrival in America, many blacks discarded African and Spanish names and adopted English titles. So notice these first slaves that came to America had Spanish names for reasons that are not readily apparent, meaning they've been hiding the history that we ruled Spain for a long time, that we were the Jews that ruled Spain. They've been hiding that. Not just Spain, we ruled all Europe for 1,000 years. Wow.